Hey, welcome to Treasure Island. So I'm gonna go over with you some of the top pros and cons of living in Treasure Island. So if you love the white sand and beautiful beach, then this is absolutely the place for you. You know, the days of buried treasure might be long gone, but you can find treasure in the beautiful waterfront views or that amazing waterfront properties. So that would also be one of the cons. So if you're looking for that waterfront condo or waterfront properties or right across the beach from that, then this is definitely one of the areas for you. Even on a cloudy day, it still has a beautiful area. And Treasure Island does have one of the quieter beach areas. So if you're looking for an area that's more private for beaches and not as busy, you'll want to check out Treasure Island. So one of the pros is definitely having property that's either right on the water or right across from the water or just a couple of blocks, depending on what area of Treasure Island you're looking at. So those are definitely pros. One con will be, obviously, in certain seasons, it is hurricane. If you'll notice, these homes are more Key West style. That's why they're built up higher. So just in case there is a hurricane threat. So I would advise looking at one that does have area built up just in case. Now, thankfully that this area hasn't been directly hit with a hurricane, but there's always that chance. So that's definitely one of the cons. Now, one major pro for Treasure Island is going to be that there's plenty of outdoor activities. So if you love doing outdoor activities, then this is definitely a spot that you're going to want to check out. Here behind me, I have the golf and tennis club. So they do have a 9-hole golf course here in Treasure Island. If you want larger courses that are full 18-hole golf courses, there's plenty in St. Pete and in some of the surrounding cities. So in about 15-20 minutes, you can get to other larger golf courses, but they do have that small one here. But they have golf and tennis here. They also have tennis at the Yacht Club, and the Yacht Club is a private club, but if you love boating, then you'll definitely want to check out the Yacht Club. I'll try to pop over there in a little bit here for you. But there's all kinds of outdoor activities like that. So if you love tennis, obviously the new craze of pickleball is allowed on some of those tennis courts. You'll need to check that out. Being so close to the water, you're gonna have a lot of boating activity. A lot of those great waterfront homes even come with a boat dock. So that's one of the pluses of having that waterfront home. Of course, there's always the beach, and there's also areas where you can go for bike rides. So plenty of outdoor sunshine. And even in the winter, it might be a little crisp, but it's still a beautiful area. One of the pros is that there are so many of those great activities. And then a con would be just the weather, because it can be very hot in the summer, and also unexpected storms can pop up. And you will need to know about during hurricane season, but even in the winter, sometimes just sudden storms will pop up. So you'll just have to be prepared for that. But overall, that's not that bad. But yeah, definitely want to check out some of these great outdoor areas for you to check out. So here behind me, we have just more local businesses, and we'll have more restaurants over here. So we have like a dry cleaners and this little shopping area that has restaurants and different local businesses. And then right over this way, we have the surf shop. Across the street, we have a popcorn place, a little Italian. So you can just kind of see and get the feel of all the local places here. So that's what I mean when I say local. These are not chains. These are family owned and operated, or just small businesses. And that's the kind of thing that you'll find in Treasure Island. And then if you are looking for those larger restaurants, you just have to venture out a little bit further to one of the bigger areas. But that kind of keeps Treasure Island as having a more of the beach culture and the small town feel to it. Now I'm gonna get in the car. I'm gonna show you what the main strip looks like. Now, Golf Boulevard is the main thoroughfare, and there's usually buildings on both sides, but the buildings on the left side right after that is the water. So all of those properties are waterfront properties, and on the back side of that is the golf. So very valuable property and very fun knowing that you're right there by it. So I'll show you that. Now, one pro you have is great properties like these here that are going to be right by the water, and the view from their back doors are all waterfront views, so you can't beat that. Crystal clear water. I'll pop over this way and show you that from the bridge. Now, I am going to say one con about this would be that Treasure Island is an island, so you can only get onto Treasure Island by going over one of the bridges. So if there is a hurricane or if there is a storm that coincides with high tide, you can get stuck there because they might shut a bridge down. That actually happened to me at one event that was later in the evening, and so the event went kind of late. It was not a hurricane, but it was like a big storm, and it coincided with high tide, and so none of us could get back over to St. Pete because of that. They had shut several of the bridges down, and then there was flooding on the Gulf Boulevard, so we couldn't get through. We actually had to, some of us had to stay the night at the resort, so that's not too terrible to have to stay at the resort, but that is something to keep in mind, that some of these bridges like this, when there is a hurricane coming, they can shut that down just for safety, or if there is a strong storm. Now, that doesn't happen very often. I've only been caught like that once, maybe once a year, twice a year, a bridge gets shut. Now, there are drawbridges because they do use these waterways for boat parades or big boats that come through. So they do open and close the bridges, but you just have to wait a couple of minutes and then you're able to get by, because several of these are drawbridges. And then here is the lovely water view. And here you can see condos and beautiful waterfront properties on the other side over here. And then across on the other side, there's also other beautiful waterfront properties. But this is one of the bridges that I was talking about. So that is definitely a con. I'm also gonna pop into Google Maps here so you can see a little bit more on the map what I'm talking about. But there are a couple of bridges. There's only a couple ways you can get on and off of Treasure Island, but you do have to cross over the water at all those different places. But so that is something to keep in mind, and keep in mind hurricane season. But I would actually recommend a property like this one coming up over here, because it is built up higher, so it's more a Key West style, and then you don't have to worry about your property getting flooded, because that first level is really just storage, and all of the rooms and anything important is on the higher level, and that's not going to get flooded. So that is something to keep in mind, that perhaps if you are looking that maybe you want to go with more of that Key West style, that does give you that little bit of higher level. It's a raised level property. So I'm going to walk over here so you get a better view of what the Key West style can look like. But as you can see here, it does have the stairs and the raised entrance, and that goes all the way around. And that's what you would consider Key West. Now, you don't have to have that style if that's not your style. You're definitely not obligated. You don't have to. There, just know that there's many pluses to being by the water, but there is a con of what if it floods? What if a hurricane hits? Obviously, that's not very often. They've never actually had a direct hit, so it's only like minor, but it's still something you have to keep in mind. You also want to keep in mind insurance, because flood insurance, housing insurance is going to be higher, and it has become actually a problem in Florida, where the cost of insurance, it keeps increasing because of storms throughout the different state, and different insurance carriers have dropped out of the state. So the price of insurance has only gone up in the last few years, and it's projected to. So insurance overall is higher in the state. Also, car insurance is also higher for some reason as well, because it is a no-fault state. So that is definitely a con. So here behind me, we have the Yacht Club. So it has tennis courts, obviously these beautiful yachts here behind me. So if you love the water, you're gonna wanna check out the Yacht Club. It is a members only club, so you will need to be cognizant of that. And they also have the Freedom Boat Club. So those are two major boating clubs that they have here in Treasure Island. So if you love being on that water, there's plenty of places to boat or kayak and all kinds of water sport activities, as well as, of course, swimming in the Gulf. All right, so here we are for the Google Maps part for Treasure Island. So if you're like, hey, where exactly is Treasure Island? I'll zoom in a little bit here for you. So you can see it's actually nestled in between St. Pete Beach and Madeira Beach. It's also not too far from Reddington. So it's only about a 5-minute drive down to St. Pete Beach, similar time frame for Madeira. Now remember how I was talking about you had to be able to cross on different bridges? So I will show you for Treasure Island here. There are a couple of bridges that you can cross, such as this one. There's this path. So there's about 2-3 that you can do depending on where you're coming from if you're crossing over on Madeira. So once or twice a year, there might be a bridge that gets shut down because of a storm, but then they open it right back up. But that's what I was talking about in that. Now, another thing you also will have to keep in mind is going to be sea fog. Now, that they're not going to shut the bridges, but you do have to make sure that you're aware when driving. If you've ever been out to San Francisco and you know how foggy it can get, out by the beaches, it can get really foggy like that as well. But it's usually only for a handful of hours, like say between 3 and 4 in the morning till like maybe 8. Once the sun pops up, it's able to kind of shine. The sun is shining and it will burn off some of that sea fog, but during those early morning hours, visibility isn't always really good, so you do have to keep in mind that when you're driving, or it could delay a flight if you have a flight out. Speaking of flights, if you're wanting to know how close to the airport you are, it's about a 40 to 30-minute drive depending on time of day. So there are a couple of different routes. 275 is going to be the most direct route right over, but it's very easy to get to just following this route. But yeah, about 40 minutes, 30 minutes if it's light traffic. You also have the option, if you get a better deal, you can always fly out of Sarasota. So that's going to be about an hour. Let's see. Now, if you wanting to know, hey, I want to go to downtown St. Pete, or some other function in St. Pete, how far is that from Treasure Island? So that's going to be about 20 minutes, depending on where in St. Pete you're wanting to go, even if you want to pop over to the golf course. Now you can also do some stuff like that in Pasadena, so that's a little bit closer. And then depending on where in Tampa, it really depends on the time frame, but you're looking about a 40 to 45-minute drive over to Tampa. So if you want to check out some of the sports teams or have like a night out or go to a nice dinner, do that. Of course, they always have Busch Gardens. So that's going to be about an hour from Treasure Island. So you can see here. But again, you can just hop over. There's a couple of different routes. Here's Busch Gardens over here. Let's see. If you're needing to get to Clearwater, that's about 30 minutes away. So you can take 19. You could also go straight up Gulf Boulevard, depending on where. I would not recommend that in the height of summer or during spring break, because that route is really congested. So it really depends on, but this time of year when this video is being recorded, traffic isn't as heavy, so you could just go straight up Gulf Boulevard. But again, the routes kind of vary, so there's a lot of cool stuff to do in Clearwater depending on that. So one of the highlights of Treasure Island is going to be that it's more laid back. It's not as busy as Clearwater Beach or St. Pete Beach. So if you're looking for more active activities, you'll want to go to St. Pete Beach or Clearwater Beach. But if you're just wanting that nice casual beach experience or more local feel, then Treasure Island, Reddington, Madeira, those are the beaches that you're going to want to check out. But they're all beautiful. They all have their pluses and minuses, but they're all very lovely this time of year and really any time of the year. And then if you're wondering about getting up to Disney or Universal, that's going to be an hour and 30 minutes depending on time of day. Also depends on I-4 or if you go a back route. But yeah, an hour and 40 minutes, not bad. Going to Disney World and Universal, around that same, it's a little bit further. So any of those theme parks you'll want to check out. So those are the highlights for the pros and cons of Treasure Island. Hey, that wraps up the pros and cons for Treasure Island. I hope that you've enjoyed watching it. My name is Alyssa. So if you're looking to move in 9 days or 90 days, give me that call, shoot me that text, send me that email. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I can't wait to hear from you. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you're loving this content, or if you have any suggestions on other areas that I can cover. I will say that at the time of this recording, buyers are starting to really get back into the market because the rates are lowering. And so if you want to beat that spring frenzy of buyers, you're going to want to contact me soon. So please give me that call or schedule a Zoom call, because buyers are starting to get more active, and later in the spring it's going to get very busy, and there might be some more bidding wars. So if you're wanting to avoid bidding wars, or even just avoid some of the buyer frenzy, then now is the time to give me a call so we can start the home buying process. And if you have any questions about the home buying process, feel free to reach out. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed and learned a lot about Treasure Island. I can't wait to hear from you. Until next time.